With Pantone just announcing the new colour of the year, white,
groundbreaking.
It certainly ignited something in me, and not in a good way. And whilst I'm an interior designer, I also couldn't give a flying hell about Pantone colours, quite frankly. So if you've been here for a while, then you'll know I don't tend to project trends onto you, mainly because I don't personally believe in them, and I think it's really important to mould together your own personal style. So this isn't going to be me telling you what to do, but rather my observations and analysis on what to expect next year and how we actually got here too. And if you're new, hi, I'm Jacqueline, I'm an interior designer, and here we talk about interior design, home decor, if you hadn't already guessed, art and even architecture. With all that being said though, what can we see appearing next year? Now I'm naming it Sepia Country, and that's mainly because dark, moody, aged and a little bit vintage is just too bloody long. But you heard it here first. And no, we're not talking about kitschy farmhouse wallpapers or a sad Pinterest board or rustic mugs. This is almost refined country. Imagine Martha Stewart's house. I'm also calling it that because I think that encases the colour palette as well as the design elements I've noticed. It leans heavily into a dark colour palette with rich browns being the dominant tone. Vintage elements are also seen. And there's a kind of aged, almost like patina amongst the interior. Think dark chocolate browns, umber, sepia, all of the shades that make beige look like their boring cousin. These tones don't just sit there looking safe, they hold weight, mood, and just enough drama to make your minimalism friends squirm. Materials follow that same warming mood, aged brass instead of polished chrome, and patina instead of perfection. Scratch that table. Great. Spill the wine. Even better. No, I'm just joking, but the point I'm making is that next year's trend says goodbye to that clean, smooth, faultless quality we've become so accustomed to seeing in interiors. I hope I'm making sense. Our homes will adopt having much more character instead of looking like a sterile showroom. And I touched on this in my Millennial Grey video, how society is leaning into not really maximalist interiors, but just rejecting modern minimalism that peaked in the 2010s. I really think we're heading back towards more retro interior design, like 50s and 60s style, but even much later on, like the 90s nostalgia that's been taking over the internet, especially at Christmas time. As consumers, we're all craving more visually. We're quite literally sick of seeing stoic, clinical, muted interiors. And because of that, more pattern within our homes is also making a comeback. Damask, block prints, vintage florals, cottage stripes, not screaming for attention, but subtly adding more dimension to a space. That influencer Beige minimalism said, get rid of everything that isn't essential, whereas Sepia Country says, bring it all in and make it rich and intentional. Again, with the style forecast, I think we'll see an uptake in people purchasing more floor lamps, table lamps, sconces, candles, and candle warmers as well, because with this trend, it creates small cozy vignettes that are framed by these smaller light fittings. As opposed to brightening up the whole space with hidden LED strip lighting, we're no longer going for bright, luxe, luminous effects. We're wanting cozy, moody, and soothing. It's moody, warm, grounded, and a little bit nostalgic. Exactly what the beige era wasn't. So if your home has been stuck in the millennial grey or cool beige time capsule for the last decade, consider this your 2026 upgrade. Bring in those chocolate browns, choose aged brass rather than new shiny gold. I hope I'm making sense to you all. We've seen this style a little bit this year, but I think as a designer, I don't personally think people want to go for it because they're hesitant to use dark colours within their home. And let's face it, it is a bold move. And I think that's why we also haven't seen a lot of it. But moving forward, I think we'll see a lot more darker, moodier interiors and home decor accessories being sold in the shops. But why all of a sudden has there been such a strong pushback on beige modern interiors that, let's face it, people have been loving for the past 10 years? Even 20 years. I think at one point or another over the past 10 years, you would have at least saved an image kind of like this to your Pinterest board. Correct me if I'm wrong. Another pet peeve of mine, are these bloody olive trees that everyone seems to be having. I actually think that they are the interior trend of 2025. If you have one, as a tip, I usually find that they're just too small, so go big or go home. But anyway, before we knew it, every home looked like the same open plan, with white walls, beige cloud sofas, pale wooden floors, and that exact one olive tree that had never seen direct sunlight. And I think a lot of this came from things like celebrity homes we saw on TV and the rise of home improvement network TV. Home sales grew dramatically during the period between 1973 and 2009, and within that time frame, it's no coincidence that we saw an increase in DIY and home improvement TV shows, and house flipping. Ah yes, house flipping. How can we not talk about that? Now, a lot of these shows were focused on redecorating or renovating houses to make them more appealing to potential buyers. Enter Homes Under the Hammer. If you're in the UK, that is. Most of these programs and other interior design shows featured performing certain home improvement acts like adding crown moulding, a double sink, wooden floors, and yes, neutral paint colours to add thousands and thousands of pounds to a home's value. And just to note that the names of architects or famous designers was never mentioned in these design shows. Funny that. People, even those not selling their homes, painted their houses in beige by the boatload, invested in icons of luxury like granite countertops and all-white bathrooms, and made their houses virtually identical. Why? Because TV said we were making money on our houses by doing these things. Essentially what I'm saying is our houses were painted in these light neutrals because these tones enabled prospective buyers that we designed for, even unintentionally, to picture their lives in our own homes. Then came the beige influencers. I often say how fashion and interior trends are often interlinked, and the sad beige aesthetic is no different. White, beige, and other light neutrals took over influencers and celebrity Instagrams since I would say around 2014 and has peaked over the past 4 years. Beige didn't just become popular, it became aspirational. And that's largely thanks to a specific kind of influencer aesthetic. When Kim Kardashian debuted her ultra-minimal, monastery-esque beige-on-beige home, it wasn't just interior design, it was a lifestyle statement. The message was clear: calm, neutral, empty equaled elevated. If your home looked like a gallery, then you had made it, and if it looked lived in, you had not. At the same time, fashion was reinforcing this idea. Sophia Richie's quiet luxury moment, head-to-toe neutrals, soft tailoring, nothing loud or avant-garde, felt like the antidote to fashion exhaustion, and a lot of people loved that vanilla style because it looked effortless and accessible. And that beigification migrated straight into our homes. Beige stopped being a colour choice and became a status, saying that your home is tasteful, luxury, and refined. The thing about influencer aesthetics is that they don't spread because they're practical, they spread because they're repeatable. Beige was so easy to copy, it doesn't clash, it doesn't require confidence, and it photographs mostly beautifully in most interiors, so brands really leaned into that. And also, if we're talking about brands, then it's actually cheaper to produce neutral toned things than it is colourful ones. Maybe some food for thought why everything's white and beige these days. So now I think we're watching the great beige rejection. And not to get too deep, but I think the timing of the pandemic in 2020 and the rise of beige kind of around the same time is also not a coincidence. We often associate hospitals with light neutral colours, and because of that, I think perhaps on a subconscious level, we equate white or beige interiors to be cleaner than others. I don't know, you make your own mind up with that one, it was just a thought I had. And now in the new year, I think people will be craving depth, weight, darkness. Rooms that have that cocooning quality. Like they still look good at night with the lights low after a long day. Something that is the polar opposite to what we've been used to since about 2006. And that's exactly what happens with trends anyway. We get bored of something after a while and then invent a new trend that's way more stylish than the other one. Remember at one point in the early 2000s, these stark white and mirrored bathrooms were deemed the height of luxury and home design. Whilst later on in the mid-2010s, yes, the dark green tiled bathroom was the king of bathroom trends. You see what I'm saying? Both bathrooms are stylish and timeless to me anyway, but once society deems them as untrendy, they also become unstylish. And I don't think it should be that way, but I don't know. And I think this is where we're at in the trend cycle of beige interiors. As a side note, if you're enjoying the video so far, please leave a like, hype the video, leave a comment, I really appreciate that. And if you want to see more videos just like this, then please subscribe. Over the past year, dark and brown tones have surged in interior design because they respond directly to how people live now. After years of beige minimalism, homeowners realised that pale spaces highlight every smudge, scratch, and sign of daily life. Not exactly comforting when so many of us live and work under the same roof all day long. And if we look at colour psychology, white and beige is received as calm, safe, and neutral. But it's also emotionally flat if overused and doesn't actually do anything for us health-wise, whereas brown triggers a comforting psychological response. They evoke feelings of comfort, security, and grounding. It's the colour of nature, soil, wood, tree bark, and chocolate. These things that have been around forever and feel organic and earthy. And in a world that feels increasingly chaotic, that kind of visual reassurance is powerful. While light colours expand a space visually, dark colours tend to do the opposite. They contain it, but they make a space look visually rich and, more importantly, make a room feel sheltered and intentional. There's also a nervous system element to this. Bright, high contrast interiors tend to keep your brain alert, whereas darker, lower contrast spaces allow it to relax. Warm, deep tones absorb light instead of bouncing it around. That's why these rooms feel calmer at nighttime than white or beige spaces. They sensorially calm you and make you feel cozy. And since the term cozy home decor has skyrocketed over the past 5 years, this year in particular, it's clear that we're moving away from how interiors look and moving towards how they make us feel. Hence, luxurious, reflective, bright interiors are in the bin, and cozy, warm dwellings like a burrow are now at the forefront. Designers and brands have also leaned into these tones because they photograph beautifully without looking sterile. Think Studio McGee's recent use of sepia-toned walls paired with vintage brass accents. The reason I think this is going to be the home trend of 2026 is simple. It solves problems that beige never could. Beige minimalism was great when life felt predictable and aspirational, but in 2026, people aren't designing for the fantasy version of themselves or to look like celebrity homes. They're designing for comfort and peace. And dark, moody, aged interiors actually meet people where they are. I think that's why we've also seen so many home aesthetics appear over the past 5 years. Cottagecore, dark academia, witchcore, Japandi, you name it. Everyone is just trying to find something other than beige in home stores. There's also a massive shift happening in how people think about value. New, flawless and disposable things are losing their appeal, and I think the vintage elements in this trend stem from that. So yes, while beige will still exist, I think we'll be seeing a lot more of this sepia country style in 2026. And it's worth noting that I don't actually think beige looks bad at all, but this is just where I think home decor is heading. What do you guys think? This is our last video of the year, so I just want to say if you've watched all of the videos we've released, thank you so much. I really appreciate you leaving a like and leaving comments. We love reading what you have to say. And I hope that next year is kind to you. The first half of this year was really bad for my health, so if like me you've had your challenges, I hope that 2026 is your year. You deserve it. Please leave a like and a comment. I read all of them. I truly appreciate it, and it does help the channel to grow. If you need help fulfilling your own design dreams, I've left our website in the description. I'm wishing you the happiest of Christmases and a bright 2026. See you in the new year. Bye.